All right, here we go. Ty Mac in the building. How are you?
What's happening, Pittsburgh? What's up, Will? How are you?
I'm loving life.
That's it. That's it. God bless you. I said Pittsburgh. I don't know if this is nationwide. It could be international. How's everybody?
Yeah, we're worldwide. How's
Yes,
everything in Pittsburgh today?
everything. It's all right. It's a little rainy, but we got to take the crooked with the straights. It's other than that, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to T&J Radio.
Glad to be here. Glad to have you. Ain't that so?
Like this is your house.
Yeah, I'm glad to be a part of, man. Glad to be a part of.
Okay. Well, it's your first time here, so let's actually start a little bit from the beginning. Now, as you had said, you're from Pittsburgh.
Yes, I was born and raised here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Homewood is the town. Um, my mom and dad, they were good people, God-fearing people. Came up somewhat with a history in the church background. Went to Catholic school, later public school. I had some college. Um, yeah, that's about it. Some,
Okay. Well, most of the people from Homewood,
uh,
that part of Pittsburgh, I don't know what it is about it. You guys kind of have some type of pride. Tell me about Homewood.
Homewood, I love her. I love her. It is an urban neighborhood. It was tough coming up in Homewood as a black child. Um, you know, at one point I can remember before the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, we didn't have to go too far. You didn't have to go downtown Pittsburgh. Everything was in Homewood. You had grocery stores, you had clothing stores, um, meat markets, shoe repair, cleaners. But after the riots, as many neighborhoods might have experienced, black businesses um, were burnt down, and that made it tough in the community. Um, we've had our share of drugs, addiction, and murders, and drive-bys, Crips, Bloods. You know, uh, Homewood is a tough neighborhood. I went to Holy Rosary as a Catholic school located in the Homewood Brushing area on Kelly Street. Uh, Before that, I went to Baxter. That was a public school. Um, it's a different. They've changed the title. I think it's Kappa now, or no, not Lecce. It's for misplaced children. Um, those who or like hoodlums, so to speak. I hate to use that word, but hooligans. Um, so Holy from Baxter to Holy Rosary. The only reason I went to Holy Rosary, my dad had beat up the principal um, at the public school, Baxter School, years ago. He beat Mr. Jeffries something bad, man. Mr. Jeffries had paddled me, my sister, and my brother. Um, I think I deserved it, but he had no right to paddle like my sister and then even my brother. So my dad came up to the school and had his way with Mr. Jeffries. So we went to Holy Rosary. Man, what a change that was. Do you know nuns beat children?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Holy Rosary School, he had to sign off on a form, that the Mother Superior had gave my dad a form that, oh, we do discipline here. And discipline they did. Yeah. So from there, went to George Westinghouse, played some football, was pretty good. Got a partial scholarship to Central State University. I stayed there for a little over, I'm going to say 8 months. But then I came back home, and rightfully so, because school wasn't going too good, man. I took those uh, hustling traits from Homewood to the educational facility of Central State University, and let's just say I wasn't focused on my education. I continued to hang with the wrong crowd. I sold drugs, uh, and schooling just wasn't a part. And I just blew the football scholarship, and came back to Pittsburgh.
Drugs at the college?
Oh yeah, me and no, I'm not going to tell any other people. Yeah, but yes,
Okay. And looking back at that time, because a lot of people don't get opportunities like scholarships to colleges. What are some things you would have probably told yourself if you were able to tell the younger Ty Mac about that time?
Oh, definitely. I would have stayed for my education. Um, that's a good question. I need to back up a little bit. Coming up in Homewood, my family has a business, and it's a jitney station. A jitney station, for those who don't know, uh, like in Jersey or New York, they call them gypsy cabs, or you know. But a jitney is way before Uber and Lyft. Uh, Individuals would take you from point A to point B, and charge you. So my dad owned a business like that, but we did a little of everything. They shot crap, they played cards, we sold liquor, you know, um, and that just was the environment I was raised up around. So that uh, was installed in me to like, you got to have a hustle. If it from washing cars to shoveling snow, cutting lawns, that's just the way I came up.
Okay. Now, what's a little bit of history about the jitneys for those who have never heard about those?
If you ever seen the movie Harlem Nights with Richard Pryor, Red Fox, uh, Eddie Murphy, you know, that movie, I would say, encompassed what the Jitney Station was. I know it was Sugar Ray's nightclub, but the Jitney Station, I would say, was similar to that. You had all types of characters. Charlie Murphy played a certain character, so did Robin Harris, and a host of others, Arsenio Hall. You had those kind of characters, men and women, at this jitney station. You had your thugs, your misfits, prostitutes. You had everything. Everything was there. And to be a young man to experience this, um, I've probably seen it all. As the matter of fact, the saying goes, I've seen it all. Yeah.
Okay. Now, we know that today Uber was created basically out of a need or a response to the problem with people getting cabs. But the jitneys, I understand, had a different purpose or a similar
Def-
reason. Why did those start?
Definitely. My take on it, and there's going to be plenty others. Our jitney station is 60 years old, but my take on it, you could not get a yellow cab in Homewood. They weren't coming. Period. Um, so even on the hill, there was like owl, owl cab, like owl hoo hoo, like an owl, and then there was people's cab, or but yet and still that was an area, the Hill District in Pittsburgh. So in the Homewood, Garfield, East Liberty, Wilkinsburg uh, areas, it was tough to get a yellow cab. Uh, the crime rate played a big part of that, and but there's crime everywhere. Drugs is everywhere. It was more transparent, and you knew about it more in these urban neighborhoods. That's not to say, there was a lot of good things that came out of Homewood and um, good people, but you didn't hear too much about that back then. Um, so the jitneys were regular people, um, mothers and fathers who would be hired at my father's jitney station uh, to help supplement their income. Um, we had people who were there uh, jitneying to complete school, to go on to get their bachelor's or master's, doctor. Um, we've had people who just came over from Africa. We had Africans as jitney drivers. Um, so we helped a lot of people in a lot of ways with the jitney station. And you would call in, you would tell the driver where you wanted to go, and the driver took you there and charged you, the fee. Um, we would do things, go shopping for you. There was trips out of town. People wanted to go to Chicago or Cleveland, things as such, and they didn't want to pay the bus rate, so they pay a jitney. So
Okay.
a lot of famous musicians come from our jitney station too. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Now, afterwards, you said you ended up losing your scholarship at Central State, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm going to make this clear. I am. Oh, sorry. I am a recovering addict. I have 30 years clean. So the horrors of active addiction had taken over um, my spiritual, physical, mental being. Um, it's what I live for. From they say that marijuana is a gateway drug. Then I tore the gate down. I went with marijuana for some time, and then cocaine. Um, I did experience heroin, but that wasn't my drug of choice. Cocaine was more so my drug of choice. As Rick James would say, that's a bad drug. That cocaine. It's a
Okay.
one-way street. Yeah.
Okay. So this went on for some years. When you were in the middle of the addiction, was this something, did you ever have a thought, I want to get out, or was it just regular life?
Oh, sure, Will. In the beginning, you know, uh, the addiction itself, it wasn't called that. It was just getting high. Be it with myself and friends, but later, as the progression continued, I didn't want to be around anybody else. I got what I got from me. Um, and that's a vicious cycle that I continue to be a part of. Um, I could get jobs, but I couldn't keep them long. Be it that I wouldn't show up for work, or I stole from the job and got fired, and you know, um, it's just a vicious lifestyle, man. It's an animalistic level lifestyle, and I definitely brought into that. Um, but as God would have it, um, the call came over the phone 30 years ago where my first wife and I attended a NA meeting in our Squirrel Hill area on a Saturday night. And I didn't get it at first. I wasn't from that era where I seen, men hugging men. And I thought maybe it was, uh, that was out of character for me. My lifestyle at home and with my father and my family, uh, it wasn't like a half an hour Brady Bunch show where problems are solved within a half an hour. or the Cosby Show, or these family shows that were out back then. Um, but through God's grace, I caught on, man. The obsession and compulsion was removed, and I continued to do some work on myself to better myself, to get out of that hell of active addiction. And it's been a plus ever since. Thank you, God.
Okay. Well, congratulations on 30 years and more.
Just for the day, just for the day. But yeah, those days. Thank you, Will. Thank you. They turned into 30 years, but it's a just for the day. Sometimes just for the moment program. So I do Narcotics Anonymous. I have worked even in the treatment field, and they're two to me. They're two different things: recovery and treatment. Even though treatment um, surrounds itself with the recovery format, but it's been working for 30 years. I've worked in the treatment facilities and out and about in my community, and around different hospital settings, detoxes, rehabs for over 29 years. It's such a reward to see someone get this. You know, yeah.
Okay. So, what are some things that tell people who are struggling with addiction or who are looking to foray into that world now?
I would say the most important thing is from my experience, being an active addict to recovering addict, and working in treatment, drug and alcohol mental health treatment. Um, you might have good intentions to stop, but you have to recover. There's 90% is the behavior, and 10% is the drug. I brought into that. At first, I didn't. Um, you have to do it for yourself, not your wife, your kids, mom, dad, aunt, uncle. No, yeah, it is a lifelong process. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, um, you have to get the supports. They say change people, places, and things. That is vital. You know, for myself, I have to have the support of others who are just like me. And what I mean by that, the meetings. I'm also active in service in recovery, Narcotics Anonymous. So I have to surround myself and stay in the middle of being forever grateful and vigilant in my recovery program on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've been known around for what you do in comedy. How
Oh,
did
I
you
thought you was going to say an addiction, active addiction. Yeah, comedy. Okay, no, you know what? I'm going to tell you. I guess your question is how did I get into stand up?
yeah, or into the world of comedy at all? Did it start with stand up?
I always like to perform, man. Even as a child, I would imitate some of the jitney drivers at the jitney station. You had all type of characters from Mr. Pittman, Mr. Newman, Richard Lipscomb. You had all kind CB, Clarence Byers, Ray Franklin. You had all types of characters. Jim Dan. I could go on all day, man. I would like to make a movie. Even though they had the movie out Jitney, but this would be the Jitney station. Um, so I used to write numbers.
Okay.
Back in the day, you can ask your older folks about this. They used to have the stocks, the races, the new stocks, the new races. and they could change the number on you. But more so when the state lottery came into play, um, I used to write numbers, and my mentor, God rest his soul, uh, Bus Harris, Levester Harris, Buster Harris, um, he would come play numbers at the jitney station, and he would tell a joke. Then I would tell a joke that I heard the jitney drivers talk do, And he said, "Man, you're pretty good. There's an open mic." Um, then that club was Graffiti's. Graffiti's was located on Baum Boulevard in the, I guess, like you could say, this Shady Side Oakland area. Um, but man, there's no way I would go up on stage uh, and he said, "Well, why don't you come and see me perform?" So I did go, but unannounced to me, he had signed my name um, on the lineup list. He signed my name, and I'm sitting there, and maybe three or four comics had went up, and the MC, the host, had said, "Well, there's a new guy here, and he wants to try out comedy," and he called me to the stage, and I was petrified, like, man, come on. So, being from Homewood, and Buster, he's challenging me. So I go up. I probably told three jokes, and they loved it. I told three jokes, and oh man, I signed up the following week and went back, and they booed me badly. I don't think they got to say my name. They're like, "Okay, here's Ty Boo." Wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ty Boo, boo, boo. Whole different crowd. And he taught me certain things, how to like read the audience, pen and paper, tape recorder. You know, uh, that's something you don't hear today, huh? Tape recorder. Where learning this craft, learning this art form of stand up. Um, I just submerged myself. And as time went on, you get to know certain people, and oh, you put in so much road work, man. You go to gigs that they're not paying you, um, but you just wanted that time on stage to perfect your craft, uh, critique your writing, and work on your material. Um, And it comes a time in stand up. Me and another Pittsburgh comic was talking the other day where you find yourself. Me and Jay Cooper were talking about how a comedian finds him or herself. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes there's been gifted comics who just are launched into the limelight um, of stand up. And some people, it takes a lifetime if you get recognized. If but I've come to find out. Look, I've done it all. I've been on Def Comedy Jam, BET, Comic View. I've worked with from Citric to Entertainer. I could go on. Um, Pops, Witherspoon, John Witherspoon, um, Dawn DC Curry, Adele Givens, Mark Curry, Adele, the list can go. Eddie Griffin. I can go on, and if I had time to show you pictures and memorabilia that I have kept over the years, but
Well, that brings an interesting question.
mhm,
Now, of course, there are different styles. Who,
of course,
who would you say that your style probably looks closest to, or
Ooh.
sounds closest to, or is modeled after?
My model comic is a comic, Mr. David Tyree, and I tell you why. I will. Um, Maybe 20 years ago, I was just going to quit, man. Um, my fiance brought me a cassette tape of a comedian, And his style, like, you're looking here and then pow, out of nowhere comes the something that you would least expect. And I liked his his setup, his his overall his overall demeanor in stand up. So I studied this guy, as all comedians will do. Um, I studied this guy, um, him and I would say George Lopez. Now that's not taking anything away from the standard Richard Pryor or Red Fox or Moms Mabley, Pig Meat Martin, uh, Wild Man Steve. Um, you know, but I would say more so listening and trying to find myself or my niche in stand up had to have come from David Tyree. David Tyree.
Okay. So at this point, you're on the roll. I know you mentioned some of the different venues and different groups that you had performed with. What did you like about doing stand up?
Uh, if, at first I must admit, and I still get it. I'll take that back. There was a fear, but it was a healthy fear, you know, uh, and to finally speak about everyday things that we all see. To me, stand up is what we see every day, uh, with a twist. Uh, and some of it's not twisted. Some of it is the God's gospel truth, but bringing it to light to others that people can relate to. You know, people can relate to uh, going to McDonald's and they get your order wrong, or the unprofessional people you might deal with at a supermarket, or why is there braille on the drive-through ATM machine? No blind person is driving up to an ATM machine. These are the little things in life that we might notice. Uh, comedy for me, and I might be alluding from your question, comedy in the venues that I've done, what I've gotten out of it has been a reward, uh, good or bad. Because the different comedy competitions when you're first coming up in this comedy thing, um, where you might not even place first, second, or third, but to just do it. I came in third place at a national comedy venue. Then the following year, I went back and I came in first place. I don't know if I would be out of character to say it was the Coors Light Comedy Search competition they used to have here in Pittsburgh, and wanted to quit, but other comics would motivate me and tell you need to come back, you need to come back, and from there you get recognized. Networking plays a big part. You have to network. You have to network.
So, what is there that you would say is the downside or the dark side of comedy?
Oh wow, that's a good question. Um, I will help anybody in stand up, but you have some comics that are not like that. There are, and it's not just the comedians, the successful comedians. Um, there's an old saying that after some time, people you start to smell yourself. You forget where you come from. You got your ass on your shoulders. I have never taken on that type of um, image. I've always had time to talk with the younger comics coming up, and if they needed my help, I would help them. So the darker side, to your question, would be There are some comics who are not willing, after becoming successful, to help the smaller guy. It's all about them. I'm not going to name any names, but they're out there. If I was to sit here and tell you some of the comics that I have dealt with over the years, who some are authentic, Will, the ones you see here, John Witherspoon, God rest his soul, was the same guy you see on TV when you're talking to him face to face. Cedric is a down earth guy. Um, Adele Givens, um, Paul Mooney, Tracy Morgan. You know, I can go on, but I don't want to leave people out. But there are comics out there, successful comics, you know, who could care less about uh, who's opening up for them or who's the feature. It's just part of it. It's just part of it.
Okay. Now, you probably know that today it's a whole different game. Social media, all of that. What would you say to the kids who are trying to get into comedy, specifically some of them who say, I don't want to go to school or go to college or whatever. I'll just do this.
Mm, good question. I would say to the new up and coming comic, you gotta put the work in. You have to learn to read that audience. You have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. Um, that sounds crazy, but uh, what is your hook? What's your catch? You know, um, it took me some time, and I'm still learning. But over 30 years, it took me some time to find Ty Mac. In the beginning, my name was Mako. It didn't fit well, until, my dad has said, Ty Mac. And uh, I stuck with that. Don't cry, laugh with Ty. Um, and I had different business cards. You have to approach stand up seriously, just like it's your life. Even if you had a full time job, but to submerge yourself into stand up, um, you have to be willing to take some of the bumps and bruises, the criticism, until you get yourself that tight 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, boom, boom, boom. Um, you know how to read that audience. That is one thing that the younger comics um, are not are not doing at this time. Some of them. I can't criticize all of them. And be willing to learn. You know, I was hungry for this, man. I was listening to, oh man, different comics and their style and whatever they had to offer me. Taking that and putting it in that pot and stirring it up and kept what I needed and discarded, what I didn't. So really, it's I would tell them they would have to work and hard on thinking about becoming a comic, stand up comic.
Okay. What are your thoughts about nowadays in comedy? It seems like there may be certain things that are not touchable,
Mm,
things that could get you canceled. That's the big word, whether it's talking about a certain community, LGBT, or whether it's talking about women in different levels. What are your thoughts on that?
Respectfully, comedy to me is timing. There was a time when we wouldn't speak of, and I'm just going back. We wouldn't, there was a time when this first happened. You couldn't get on the stage the next morning, or when the Twin Towers were knocked down by the terrorists. But after some time, it was appropriate. Yeah, you mentioned the gay community. Um, Everything is timing on stage. After reading your audience, it wouldn't be appropriate to talk about the elderly having sex. But when I was coming up as a kid, you didn't do that. But it's timing. It's definitely timing and the approach of how you deliver the joke. You might have to go back to the drawing board and critique the joke or the material. I would say uh, a lot of stuff is too politically correct now. When it's comedy. Who was the famous comic that said it's comedy? Don't take it home. Don't let it ruin your day. It's comedy. That's my take on it. I'm gonna try to talk about any and everything, but I'm going to try to make sure that the timing is appropriate. For me, you have to things have to be appropriate timing.
Do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you think there are some things that could change, or what do
Um,
you think?
we live in a changing society, man. Every day, things change. You know, uh, Richard Pryor's stand up will never die, but his stand up isn't the same as Eddie Griffin's. Dion Cole is a very clever comedian. Uh, I think he gets that a lot from his experience in writing for the different late night shows he had wrote for, and you have your John Belushi's for years. It was on Saturday Night Live. As I said, Dion Cole with Conan O'Brien, and there's a host of others. Um, uh, Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle has taken off even after he stopped with HBO um, for whatever reasons. That's his reasons, and God bless Dave Chappelle for taking a stand, man, being the man that he is. Um, Tracy Morgan coming back to stand up after a horrific accident with was it a Walmart truck where it killed one of his partners.
Mm.
Um, so stand up is something that from the medieval days when the king used to call a jester in to make him laugh, and if he didn't, you know what happened, Will?
What would happen?
He was executed. you know if you couldn't make the king or the queen laugh, off with his head, or any other torture means that they thought fit, man. The worst you get now is like a boo. They don't throw tomatoes anymore, or somebody might heckle you from the audience, or so I would say comedy is going to continue to be a growing factor among us. Uh, into that laughter, man, is the language that we all understand. It's not like laughter.
Okay, you had been doing a couple of impressions of characters at the jitney station. You don't have to add any names, but or you can
Okay.
change the names. But do you have any impressions that you remember you
You
could do?
know, when I do impressions, man, it reminds me of the many characters like Richard Pryor used to do. From Mudbone and the uh, the junkie and the wino. You know, I would say I don't I have moved on from those guys, those impressions, but um, if I yeah, everybody knows a Mr. Pittman. Mr. Pittman, he never told us his real age, but you knew he was up there, man. He probably played handball with Moses. But Mr. Pittman, uh, he carried a pistol, man. The barrel on this pistol was that long. Uh, Whatever your name was, he never called you by your name. It was always Dick. You know, uh, Let me tell you, Dick, something. He would, he pulled that gun out. I, I'm laying up in the bed with this broad. and there's a knock on the door. She said, "Oh, it's my husband." He says, "Well, this could go two ways. I'm going to walk out of here unscathed, or I'm going to walk out of here unscathed." And we would laugh, man, because the old guy, he wasn't laying up in bed with no woman. His laid up in bed days with a woman were way gone. I think Mr. Pittman stopped jitneying maybe when he was like 92. And after that, he passed away at like 93. You know, oh, Will, that's a hell of a question, man. Imitating the drivers that were up there. You know, you had your number writers. You had the guys that would everything. You ain't. I I didn't even ask you. Is it okay to cuss on here?
You're good.
Okay, all right. You had your guys who would just keep saying, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. You know, it didn't matter what the situation was, man. You ain't shit. You, you, man, the Jitney Station is a world of its own. As I said, man, you watch Harlem Nights, you'll get it. And those who either work at a Jitney Station or have any parts of a Jitney Station, uh, cab service back in the day, because Yellow Cab, they had a hub that they hung out in. You had all type of cab. Remember the show Taxi?
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, Jitney is Taxi uh, on steroids, man. You know,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we might have to get you to produce a show,
Oh, would love
especially
it.
before I would have said a movie, but this might have to be a Netflix series or something.
Oh man, wouldn't that be great? Get in contact with me, Netflix people. My card, and uh, if you ever need to get in contact, just Google me, comedian Ty Mac.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll have all my information on there, Will. And once we make it, we can stop doing this platform of entertainment, huh?
Well, things evolve, and we'll
Yes,
always
sir.
have some sort of way all the time. So I'll,
Yes,
I'll,
sir.
I'll take you up on the deal. I'll
There
have
you go.
an executive consultant.
Ooh, such big words in this 10-cent sentence. Okay, beautiful.
So great. So what are the best ways for people to get in contact with you or book you?
Um, my email address is simple. I try to keep it simple. TyMacComedy at yahoo.com. My phone number and things and such. I'm not going to put it over here, but if you're interested, you can look me up. You can Google me, comedian Ty Mac. I'm on Facebook. I am on Twitter. Um, I don't have all the things going on. I got to sit down with my son and let him get me on. I'm sure there's other search engines or whatever they call them today, as to getting me more social media involved for advertising. But you just shout my name out and I'll appear. You know, I
Okay.
will appear. No, Will, I'm grateful that you're going to put me on. Uh,
Absolutely.
on all my information. Hey, I forgot to mention, I'm also doing stand up for any rehab facilities, detox facilities, drug and alcohol programs. Hit me up. I'm the Big Mac of Comedy, TyMacComedy.com. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, comedian Ty Mac, the Big Mac of comedy. Appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me. What time is it? Oh man, it's 12:40. I got to put my numbers in, man. Black people got to play their numbers. I got to get my numbers in. Do you play the numbers today, Will?
I don't play the numbers.
Oh, wow. Well, this interview is over.